My name is Paul Wilson.
I'm Melissa Wilson.
We ended up getting married in a house church. The leader of the house church offered to officiate the wedding, and then all the other members offered to take the photos and just kind of put together a small intimate ceremony. So a month later, I deployed to Afghanistan for 6 months. Once I returned from Afghanistan, that's where we really started our lives together under one roof. I got an assignment to Korea. I went over by myself for the first 6 months.
And I had some medical complications. The medical complications essentially led to urgent surgery that resulted in basically my right ovary and right fallopian tube being removed. Of course, as a young couple, like we had talked about, having kids at some point, that kind of rattles you, shakes you. Like, what does that mean for fertility? Having children was something I really wanted.
Being able to foster and help out kids in the foster system, or even potentially adopt one day, that was something else that we were excited about, but our hearts were very much focused on like starting our own family, having our own kids. And then as we started to go down that path and as those things started to happen, then we would turn to also looking at like fostering and adopting as well.
So we decided hey, why not now? We'll try and get pregnant here. We'll go back to the United States and have the, baby there. We tried and were very successful. We were excited. And then shortly after that, like a week later, that's when things took a turn. I woke up in a lot of pain. I'm afraid this could be a miscarriage. It could be something else. It got just unbearably worse. They could not figure out where the baby was. The baby was in my left fallopian tube. My fallopian tube had indeed ruptured, which has caused internal bleeding, which is where all the pain was coming from. That was emergency surgery. I probably was scared. I was just in pain. I know Paul was very scared.
We need to operate on your wife right now, otherwise she'll die. That hit me like a ton of bricks. I remember texting my church community in Korea, my family, just asking everyone to pray for Melissa.
I was more concerned about losing this child than I was about losing my own life. The only course of action at this point was for them to do the surgery, stop the bleeding, and of course remove my left fallopian tube, which in turn meant we lost the baby and the natural ability to conceive. And that was a huge loss that day.
I love you.
Love you too.
We had a plan. We had a plan to have a family, and that plan is not feasible in the way that we thought it was gonna work. Why? I don't understand. Why is this happening to us? I wouldn't say I was angry at God. I just didn't understand why. And I was angry at the situation. Just sadness too, for us, but really for Melissa, because I knew as a woman, that's one of the things that, they pride themselves in being able to bear children. And so my heart was broken for her. And, me as the man, we feel like, we need to provide for our wives and we need to take care of them. I couldn't fix this. I couldn't fix this situation at all. I could pray about it, but again, it doesn't fix it. So I was heartbroken trying to figure out how do we as a family move forward.
I know I was definitely angry, but I was grieving. And I just remember saying, God, you're going to have to do this for me because I can't fight this battle. I want to be angry at you, but I don't want to. And immediately he's like, I'm going to fight it for you. Here's your peace. And I'm going to give you the strength for this.
After Korea, we moved to Virginia. We showed up there and we immediately found a church family. As we got plugged in to that church family, we started to share our story, our testimony of what we went through in Korea, and losing our baby. God immediately started moving. On one particular occasion where we both were sharing, we both ended up coming back home and sharing with one another how when we talked to our respective groups, God had positioned people in both of those groups to tell us, to affirm to us that the opportunity to grow our family through fostering was a real possibility. Okay, God, here it is. Here's this opportunity, and our plans have changed, but this is still very much on our heart. We just want to love kids. Got trained up, got certified as foster parents.
I was actually very scared. It was more so an act of obedience of like, yes, I'm scared of this idea to jump into this. I've never been a parent before. It definitely was God just opening the doors up that kind of really kept softening my heart.
It took time for us to pray about it. It took time for us to continue to work through that grief and that process.
It was the anniversary of our loss that day. And it was a sad day. But by the end of it, that evening when we were on our way to Bible study, he was driving. I just remember looking up at the stars, and I just had this peace. And it was like, Holy Spirit was like, your child is here. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I don't know what that means. Don't know who they are, but I trust this and I believe this. So then the following day, which was a Friday, it was the afternoon, I got the phone call. We have a 4-day-old baby girl in the NICU. Is she someone that you would be willing to take as a placement? And I knew my answer was yes, but I was like, I should do the responsible thing and call him to make sure. So I did, and he was like, yes. Yeah. That evening when he came home from work, we were praying. Like that was in our minds like the best way to start preparing for this child. We didn't have parenting classes for how to take care of an infant, so we YouTubed videos. Different videos over the weekend, how to swaddle, how to give a baby a bath, how to burp, like all of those kind of things, and continued to pray.
She was asking if we would be able to go to the hospital and pick her up. And Melissa and I were like, yeah, of course. I mean, that's where we meet Kina for the very first time. For me, that was an amazing moment. I felt like God was truly looking down on us because, again, we didn't have that opportunity to have our own child and go have them in a hospital, but yet we were still afforded this opportunity to go to a hospital. I was nervous. I was, putting her in the car and driving home, and just like, okay, this is it. Like, don't crash, don't screw things up. Like, you are now responsible for another life that is not your own.
Yeah, it was surreal. Just the fact that we were going to the hospital to go get her, that was unexpected.
It really was our church family and community that dropped off food, dropped off diapers, dropped off just other things. We're gonna love her dearly and madly, but we also have to kind of protect our hearts from the possibility that she won't stay with us. While I was away at this military training school, they did come to us and say, hey, because no one else is able to come forward, are you all still willing and able to adopt her? And we both said yes, resoundingly. Melissa had actually called me with the news. I was away at military school training. Melissa was back home. She had invited some friends and church community over for the 1-year birthday party. And it was at that party that Melissa and I were both going to announce. I was tuning in virtually over like FaceTime or something. And we together were going to tell our friends that Kina had been officially adopted on her 1-year birthday. Mm-hmm. So
she in and of herself is just a miracle and a gift
the journey there was painful, but now looking back, we're just like, wow, God, this is amazing.
Kina is simply my daughter, but she's also a promise. God is faithful.
She's a gift. I feel like Kina every single day just reminds me of that joy, that peace, that promise that God gives us. And I definitely cherish that.